Okay, C period. I was so excited to finish solving that problem that I stayed just a couple minutes into lunch and figured out this number 7 that stumped us during class. And I'd like to show you what I came up with. Okay, so we read through this question and we were like, wow, it's like so circular. It's like the measure of a supplement of an angle of another angle is a measure of something, something, right? And so what I want to do is just explain to you how I slowed my brain down so that I could figure this out. Okay, the first thing that I asked myself is, what are we trying to figure out? Well, we're looking for an angle. So I simply wrote that to myself. I'm looking for an angle, and I'm going to call that angle A. For some reason, once I did this, all of the rest of the problem fell into place. I think what was getting so confusing for me during class was that I totally lost track of what are we looking for here. Okay, and this is something that I see people do all of the time, and I was exemplifying that for you, is losing track of what are we looking for in the problem. So slow down, ask yourself, what are we looking for? In this case, we're looking for the measure of an angle. The next thing that I did was I reread the problem for a little bit more of specifics, like relationships to this angle measure that I'm looking for. So now I'm looking at the measure of a supplement of an angle is 12 greater than 3 times the complement of an angle. So right away, I noted that I have to note this supplement and note this complement. So I'm gonna write down 2 separate equations for that. So here are the equations that I came up with. The angle that I'm looking for, remember I called it A, plus its supplement give me 180. That same angle that I'm looking for plus its complement gives me 90, right? So I'm just writing out those definitions. Now when I read through this one more time, I'm going to start thinking in terms of S and C. Okay, I'm going to kind of let A, the angle that we're looking for, go for a second and just think of its supplement and its complement. So I'm going to label that into this problem here. The measure of a supplement of an angle is 12 greater than 3 times the complement, right? The complement. All right, so I know this is a little hard to read, so I'm going to say it one more time. The supplement, just replace it with an S, is, clue for equal sign, 12 greater than 3 times the complement, C. Okay, so now what I have is a system of 3 equations that I'm going to use to figure out what A is equal to. All right, so I've read the problem, determined what I'm looking for, I've reread it in order to figure out what the relationships are among the variables present. All right, so now what I need to do is use some substitution so I can figure out what A is. Because I am wanting... Okay, so in order to ultimately solve for A in each of these equations, I want to plug in for S and C such that A is in that term. So in this equation, I'm going to solve for S. S equals something with A in it. And for this one, I'm going to solve for C. C, something with A in it. So you'll see here I subtracted A from both sides, so now I have S equals 180 minus A. And what this did is it allows me to substitute this phrase in for S there. Okay, so now that I've done that substitution, I'm going to do the same thing over here for this. I'm going to solve for C so that I can replace C here with something that has A in it. All right, so just to look at what I did, subtracted A from both sides, and I now have the C equals 90 minus A, then I brought this down and substituted it in for C. So now what I've got is this single equation where I can solve for A being the angle that I'm ultimately trying to find. All right, so now I want to solve this equation. I'm just going to use all of my my normal solving tools, so distribution, moving terms from one side to another in order to solve this. I encourage you to pause your video now, solve it on your own, and then check it with what I've got. Okay, so once I solved the equation, I skipped a few steps in here. I showed you distribution, but then I'm assuming that either you remember how to move A's the same sided numbers to the same side, or that you'll come in and ask for some review around that. But when I solve this whole thing, I have A equals 51. Now, with a problem like this that took me so much brain power to even figure out what they're trying to ask for, it's so important for me to make sure that my answer makes sense. And at this point, it's nearly impossible for me to reason out whether this makes sense or not, because I have no idea what the supplement is, nor the complement that helped us create this equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug A back into these two, these two equations, figure out the supplement and the complement so that I can check it against this equation. So as you can see, I plugged 51 back into this supplementary angle formula, and I got that the supplement of 51 is 129. I plugged a 51, this answer, back into this complementary equation, and I got that the complement of 51 is 39. Now, this still doesn't help me quite yet determine if my answer is correct. What I need to do is look at the relationship between 129 and 39 and make sure it matches here in this equation. So now that I've plugged in the supplement and the complement into this equation, I'm just going to simplify this side to make sure that it equals 129. If this equation is true, if it actually is an equation, then that means my answer of angle equaling 51 degrees is the correct answer. So after I simplify this side, I get 129 is equal to 129. This is a true statement, which means that this solution I found, our angle, is equal to 51 degrees, is the correct answer. Yes.